Hello and welcome to my maker lab today in my kitchen. Today we're going to be making a couple of different kinds of paint out of sidewalk chalk. If you're anything like my family, you've got bits and pieces that have been left over from drawing outside, and we can actually make a fun paint out of our remnants of sidewalk chalk here. So what you'll need is just a little bit of chalk, flour if you've got it, some water, and something to grind up the chalk with. You can use a cheese grater, or you can even use a small board and a mallet or a hammer. If you're outside, even like a stone on a board will work for you. Whatever you can use to grind it up into small bits. So we will powder our chalk. I'm going to go ahead and grind it into my measuring cup here. And the stone is soft enough that it should not damage your cheese grater. And if you're worried about that, you can go back to the hammer or even a rock from outside. There, we've got some very fine shreds of chalk, making a nice little color. The next step is a little bit of water. And here's where you can deviate a little bit. So we can make our puffy chalk paint using flour, or we can just make our washable regular paint using just water and maybe a little extra food coloring to brighten it up. Depends on where you want to go with this. So let's add a little bit of water to our cup here. Mix that together. And then we've got a nice sort of kind of blue film. And that can be used right away as a paint, but we're going to turn it into the puffy paint that we're looking for. So I'm going to add just a little bit more water. And I'm going to go with a... you can go anywhere from, I'd say, a quarter cup, which is what I'm going to use, to a half a cup, or a full cup if you want to have a whole day's worth of paint to use outside. So I'm going to just dump that flour in there. I'm going to mix that up. Let's stir that together. And what should happen is it should thicken as the flour binds with the water in there. And you should get something more the consistency of pancake batter. Let's mix that up. Seems like we've got a nice battery paint in there now. And then that's it for our recipe. We'll go ahead and put that into a squeeze bottle. You can use anything you've got around the house, from a ketchup container, mustard, or even like a soda bottle that you've poked a hole in the cap. I like these little transportable shampoo bottles. If you've got empty travel size shampoo and soap bottles, those work as well. So let's go ahead and pour that in there. You can see how it's nice and thick. Wonderful. Add the lid, shake it a little bit, and then we have our puffy paint solution that we could use indoors, outdoors, on paper, cardstock, or even just a washable plate to reuse and have a lot of fun with that. So you can go ahead and use it to see if it squirts out and draws on your plate. Mine's not coming out that evenly. You can always adjust the recipe. I think mine needs to be a little bit thicker. Let's go ahead and shake it up for a little bit more mix and add just a touch of flour. You can keep playing with the recipe until you get it the consistency that you want, but I definitely recommend starting with a 1-to-1 of water and flour ratio there. That would be like 1/4 cup water, 1/4 cup flour. We'll measure and turn that into a puffy paint. And the science of what's going on here is that chalk that you use to write on the sidewalk is calcium carbonate, which is a very soft stone. One of the very early and primitive kinds of drawing that you'll find out there. And when you scrape a piece of chalk against rock, it leaves deposits as the softer rock squishes up against the harder rock or the harder surface. And those deposits are what we see when we do the chalk. It doesn't dissolve completely in water, but when you grind it into a fine powder, enough of it dissolves to make a wonderful paint. Let's try this again. There we go. A little more drawing there. And if you want, you can also use food coloring to brighten up any color that you might have. I might recommend using a dash of soap. It helps separate the water in there so you can clean it up a little bit easier when you're done, and also so it spreads a little smoother when you're pouring it out. I forgot to add that to my mixture, so let's go ahead and add a drop in. Just a drop should do it. And if you're using this outdoors, it's important to remember to clean it up in the same day, because the flour that's inside here can bond with whatever surface you stick it on, and if it's a hot day and the sun comes out, that flour will bake and it'll get a lot harder to clean up. But again, this is something you can use indoors, outdoors, on paper, whatever. And if you've got a little bit of just the water and chalk solution, you can even use it as a paint. So go ahead and experiment on your own. Figure out what combination works best for you. It's a great way to use up those odds and ends of chalk and do a little bit of art at the same time. Thank you for checking out today's Maker Lab. We'll have more for you every Sunday. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm excited to see what you can create. See you next time.